Indian cinema has this massive, incredibly rich history of celebrating the nation, right? But the way Bollywood actually portrays national pride, well, that has evolved dramatically over the years. Today, in this explainer, we are breaking down 10 of the absolute best on-screen patriotic icons played by Bollywood stars. We're going to see exactly how the whole idea of duty gets projected in popular culture. It's going to be a fun ride.
But before we dive in, I want you to keep one big question in the back of your mind. What does a true patriot actually look like? Like, are they always holding a weapon? Are they always decked out in a uniform? As you'll see, digging into these 10 portrayals reveals a whole lot about how we view heroism itself.
Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The historic freedom fighters. 2. Titans of the front lines. 3. Covert masterminds and spies. 4. The quiet, everyday patriots. And finally, 5. Defining the true patriot.
Starting with part 1, the historic freedom fighters. These are the firebrands who literally birthed the nation. It is so fascinating to track the chronological journey of these historical titans. We're jumping from that initial explosive spark of the 1857 rebellion straight through the really tragic events of the early 1900s, like the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, right up into the 1930s. That's the decade filled with those legendary sacrifices that completely galvanized the entire nation.
So starting with that first major spark, we absolutely have to talk about Aamir Khan's compelling portrayal in Mangal Pandey, The Rising. This performance is it's a powerful look at the events that ignited the Indian Rebellion of 1857. Khan's fierce, twirled mustache defiance gave modern audiences a really visceral look at a foundational story of resistance. Think about it. This is a man who looked at the towering, terrifying might of the British East India Company and just dared to challenge it. Moving a bit further down the timeline, we get 2 absolute masterclasses in cinematic transformation. First, you've got Ajay Devgan as the revolutionary Bhagat Singh. He perfectly captured the incredible passion, the sheer resolve of a young man willing to cheerfully sacrifice his own life for his country's freedom. Then, decades later in the cinematic timeline, Vicky Kaushal in Sardar Udham gave us a much colder, almost hauntingly quiet portrayal. He played a man driven by one singular purpose, avenging the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Both performances show this unshakable resolve, They're just channeled in totally different ways. Moving on to part 2, Titans of the Front Lines, the classic battlefield commanders. When most of us think of patriotism in its most highly visible, adrenaline-pumping form, we usually think of roles like Major Kuldeep Singh Chanpuri, Captain Vikram Batra, Havildar Ishar Singh, Squadron Leader Vijay Karnik, and Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, portrayed by absolute legends like Sunny Deol, Siddharth Malhotra, Akshay Kumar, Ajay Devgan, and Vicky Kaushal. These characters stand as timeless tributes to the bravery of the armed forces. And the dynamics of battlefield leadership on screen are incredibly diverse. On one hand, you have Sunny Deol in Border, who perfectly captures that intense, screaming energy of a leader rallying troops during the Battle of Longwala. But then, on the flip side, Siddharth Malhotra in Shershaw gives us the infectious, almost smiling bravery of Captain Vikram Batra. He famously captured his iconic real-life battle cry, Ye dil mange more. It's brilliant because it shows us both the grit of combat and a profoundly personal love for the country. But hey, it's also about facing totally impossible odds. Akshay Kumar's Kesari tells the jaw-dropping story of just 21 Sikh soldiers in a valiant last stand against 10,000 Afghan invaders. 10,000! Meanwhile, Ajay Devgan in Bhuj highlights a completely different, mind-boggling kind of logistical heroism. He plays a real-life commander who rapidly rebuilt a bombed-out airstrip alongside 300 local civilian women to secure victory in the 1971 war. Just incredible! All right, into part 3, Covert Masterminds and Spies, the modern era of unseen warfare. The stakes here are incredibly high, but the work, it happens entirely in the shadows. Unlike those explosive battlefields we just talked about, this is all about neutralizing terror threats in crowded cities, executing top-secret nuclear tests without the world ever knowing, and launching daring operations totally off the books. Patriotism here is defined by immense secrecy and pure operational brilliance. Akshay Kumar really became the poster child for this genre, didn't he? In Holiday, he shows us that a soldier's duty literally never pauses, foiling a massive sleeper cell plot while he's supposed to be on vacation. In Baby, he's the ultimate quiet professional, neutralizing threats deep behind enemy lines. And we can't forget John Abraham in Parmanu.
He highlights the sheer intellect required for national security, leading a team of scientists to pull off the 1998 nuclear tests right under the noses of foreign satellites. These films celebrate the unseen heroes, the ones who never, ever get a public parade. And honestly, we absolutely cannot discuss modern covert operations without bringing up Vicky Kaushal in Yuri, the Surgical Strike. Leading a highly trained team on a precise retaliatory mission, his battle cry of "How's the Josh" completely transcended the screen. It literally became a real-world anthem for national pride. It stands as a massive, incredibly powerful tribute to the Special Forces. So far, we've looked at what you might call loud patriotism. Grand gestures, intense battlefields, high-stakes espionage. But Bollywood also offers a completely different, often overlooked perspective. And that is the introspective duty of everyday citizens. It's a really sharp contrast between fighting a visible enemy with weapons and fighting for the internal, quiet improvement of the nation. Which brings us to part 4, the quiet, everyday patriots, serving the country without a uniform. A perfect bridge to this whole concept is Hrithik Roshan's brilliant character arc in Laksha. He starts out as a completely directionless youth who joins the army almost on a total whim. But through the grueling, painful process of training, he transforms. He finds his honor, he finds his purpose, and ultimately leads his platoon to victory. It beautifully proves that before you can truly serve your nation, well, sometimes you first have to discover who you actually are. But perhaps the ultimate quiet patriot is Shah Rukh Khan's character in Swades. Here is a highly successful NASA scientist who decides to return to his roots in India. And there are no explosions here, no covert strikes. Instead, he simply uses his specialized skills to build a water reservoir and generate electricity for a local village. It's such a profoundly introspective take on what it means to actually build a country, brick by brick. Finally, part 5, defining the true patriot, synthesizing the spirit of duty. So, bringing all 10 of these amazing icons together, the crucial takeaway is this. Patriotism is definitely not a monolith. As this explainer shows, it is an incredibly diverse, wide-ranging spectrum. It's the historical rebellion that won independence. It's the explosive frontline leadership that protects borders. And yes, it is the quiet, everyday nation-building done by scientists, teachers, and ordinary citizens. You do not need a battlefield to serve your country effectively. I want to leave you with this really powerful thought, directly inspired by Swades. True patriotism lies not in grand gestures, but in a quiet commitment to making a positive difference. Bollywood obviously loves its giant cinematic spectacles, but at its core, the message is intensely personal. You don't need a uniform to be a hero. So, what skills do you have right now that can make a positive difference in your own community? Think about that for a bit. Until next time, keep questioning what you see on screen.